Great Debaters Contest 2016 registration is now open. Teachers or school administrations should register on www.greatdebaterscontest.com/register.
This is the Great Debaters Contest, the show that is ready and willing to go to any lengths to bring you the very best of debate. Welcome to our Eldoret edition. I am your host, Mariam Bishar.
And I am Austin Yumbok. Our motion today is Africa should adopt the one-child policy. We have Metkei girls versus Kabiyet boys. Who will blow our minds today, Mariam?
The debaters will answer that question. Proposal number 1, you have 3 minutes.
Wow. Your faces give me a lot of confidence. I must appreciate you for that. Well, have you guys ever known that they say that change is inevitable and it is necessary? That's why Africans, we're supposed to adopt this one-child policy. Now, let's take a situation whereby one-child policy is adopted in Africa. There are many economic and environmental factors and advantages that will accrue to the general economy of our continent. These economic factors, the moment we'll adopt one-child policy, we will have better healthcare facilities being provided to us. We will have increment in food production, which will actually lower the poverty rate in Africa. Again, there's one great man of Philippines who said that more jobs are available if only there is reduction in population. There's no way that jobs will be available without having less population. One-child policy has helped China to become the most prestigious nation in the world in terms of education and development. China invented this one-child policy to help them economically. Now, this is seen in a situation by, if we do simple economics, putting a lot of money into education of one child is very easy. It's much more easier than allocating much money to 3 kids or more. Now, you must come together with me, audience, to say that this one-child policy is very, very important for any country to raise its economical basement. There's another point that you see many European countries, they have less children. Why? Compared to Africa. Why is it so? Because you see white families, they are educated enough to see the advantages of having so many children. So they refrain from it. On the other hand, let's come to our own continent, Africa, whereby we can find one family made up of 20 children, including the parents. Now tell me, audience, how is it possible for you to provide for all this population in your family? Well, another point, this whereby I should say that, honestly, I cannot see how the situation will improve if you don't adopt this one-child policy. This was Deng from Kabiyet High. I appreciate your time.
Opposition, you have 3 minutes to give your opening statements.
She was a normal person, just like you and me. My sister was one person who really believed in having one child. And yes, after having her firstborn, she closed that chapter. She decided that she was never going to give birth again because that one child was enough for her. Accidentally, she conceived. But because she was firm that she wasn't going to have another child, she decided to terminate the pregnancy. The abortion was successful. To be sure of her decision, she decided that she was going to undertake tubal ligation, which is an irreversible family planning method. Yes, her first boy was being nourished with everything that he wanted. At the age of 12 years, the boy's health started deteriorating. And with time, though we wouldn't point exactly what was the cause of his illness, but later we came and discovered that it was a brain tumor. It was already too late for us to act. 3 weeks after we discovered that it was a brain tumor, the boy passed on. This was a shock to my sister, and until this moment as I speak, standing before you, my sister is in a vegetative state because of pressure that she got from the death of her only hope. It is me, Judy Chebon, standing in as the first opposer. If I was to say the one-child policy in one word, I would say it is a policy that is meant to gradually put the human species into the list of extinct creatures. It is a policy that is meant to turn us against what we were obliged by God, that is to multiply and fill the earth, according to Genesis 1:28. Come to think of it, what happens if you conceive the second time? The only option that we'll have is to abort. According to Quran 58:163, it says, only Allah gives life and only He has the opportunity to take it away. That is murder. I want to imagine when you have this one child, you will tend to nourish him with everything that he wants. And definitely, he will take that advantage and ask for everything that he wants. And before you know it, you will be pampering him. You will realize it when the boy is already mature, he becomes miserable in life because he was used, the way he was brought up was in a soft way. He won't learn the hard way. What of this situation when we have a multiple birth? You give birth to triplets, twins, or even quadruplets. What method are you going to use to eliminate that one child? I want you to remain with one child. Remember, we are Africans and we are humane in nature. I need to know which criteria are we going to use to remain with one child. Thank you.
We'll hear cross-examinations, beginning with the proposition. You have 3 minutes.
First, I'd love to oppose my opposer here by saying these days there is use of contraceptives. And if this sister of hers, she could have used contraceptives, I'm sure they would avoid doing abortion and other things. I'm Von Kiprotich from Kabiyet Boys, and I'm here strongly to propose the motion that states a one-child policy should be adopted in Africa, simply because this will reduce the rate of poverty in Africa. Why do I say this? For instance, a parent having one child rather than several to feed, to educate, and to give them clothes, and educate these make-doting parents have many leftovers for themselves. Take another example of the Chinese. Instead of wallowing in their debts, we see that these days the Chinese have surplus cash to spend on themselves and to spend abroad. And that in turn is good for domestic consumers spending economic growth. My second point, we see that one-child policy will lead to control of overpopulation in Africa. Let's take an example of Nigeria. We all know that Nigeria is one of the most populated countries in Africa. Generally, it is the most populated country in Africa with a population of more than 1,000 million people, to extend that the United Nations Secretary General, Ban Ki-moon, has come between in the implementation of one-child policy so as to control the birth rate of being experienced in Nigeria. Also, the researchers have done their research, and it has proved that if Nigeria will not adopt this one policy, they will suffer in the years to come. Thank you.
Metkei girls, you have 3 minutes for your rebuttal.
My, oh my. You can remove a girl from a village, but you can never remove the villageness in her. Similarly, you can introduce non-African policies to an African, but you can never remove the Africanism in him. We have African blood, not European blood. So why should we practice neocolonialism? Our fathers did not fight for our independence for us to come and betray it. Remember, mwachamila ni mtumwa. If we adopt the one-child policy, people, this will lead to imbalance in the sex ratio. Come to think of it, I'm given only one chance to give birth to a child. I'm in desperate need of a son. Tell me, what happens if actually I conceive a girl? What happens? Sex-selective abortion occurs. Like in China, right now, the ratio of boys to girls is 109.8 boys to every 100 girls. Now tell me, where do these 19.8 boys who don't get spouses go to? When they practice homosexuality, is that what you are calling one-child policy? People, we are African, not European. So let's be the Africans we were meant to be. If actually we uphold the one-child policy, it will increase the abortion rates. Each and every time you conceive the second child, what happens? Simply because you fear the government penalties on you, what will you do? You will abort. Is this what you want? Murder. In Africa, murder is a crime. It is a serious crime, especially murder by abortion. People, come to think of it, let's take an example of Germany. In Germany, majority of their population is made up of the old people. Why? They upheld the one-child policy. And currently, the productive age group is very minimal. Is this what you call economic growth? People, let's be realistic. Uphold facts as they come. We cannot say that by having a small productive age group, we are actually going to improve our economy. I'd actually like to answer one of the rhetorical questions that our poser said. You actually asked, why is it that Europeans have very few kids while Africans have very many kids? Let me tell you, it's all about Africanism and Europeanism. We are African by nature, but they are European by nature. So please, don't try to copy them. Originality is the key to success, people. Originality. Let's be the Africa we were meant to be. Come to think of it, why do we want to be like China? Remember, according to the Oxford Handbook of the African countries, it says that China makes up 20% of the African population. Now, come to think of it, the 20% of the world population cannot be compared to Africa. So please, our population is not very high. Let's remain with our population. Let's remain with our African belief. Now, come to think of it, when you actually have been barren for seven years. Then you go to hospital and you're actually told that finally you can conceive. On getting home, the shocking news that you find are that the government have upheld the one-child policy. What happens to you? Let's not lose our sense of humanity. Let's not waste our Africanism. We are African people. I repeat, we are African. Thank you.
The Great Debaters Contest 2016 registration is now open. Teachers or school administrations should register on www.greatdebaterscontest.com/register. The Great Debaters Contest 2016 registration is now open. Teachers or school administrations should register on www.greatdebaterscontest.com/register.
Thank you, audience. Those were very wonderful questions. The proposers have been asked, if we choose to adopt the one-child policy, what do we do in the eventuality of twins or triplets or even more? And the opposition have been asked what measures they propose to reduce the population, if not a one-child policy, due to scarcity of resources. That proposer, you have 3 minutes.
Flabbergasted, ladies and gentlemen. They've just asked a question, what are we going to do if they give to triplets? My fellow ladies and gentlemen, that is acceptable because God is the one who gives, but you will not have any other kids. So if you don't want this one-child policy, then give birth to triplets and twins. Actually, this one-child policy, it will help in optimum exploitation of resources. Why am I saying so? Because the policy will have regulated the population growth rate in Africa. Let's take an example of a country like Kenya. The government passed a sessional paper on 2012 that if we don't accept this one-child policy, then by the time we are going to age 2030, Kenya will be experiencing a population density of 80 million people. Now, my fellow countrymen and women, let us be logic. For now, we are about 42 million people in this Kenya, in this country of ours. What about by the time we are going to have a population density of 80 million people by 2030? Will the resources be enough? No, they won't. My other point is the one-child policy will help in reducing environmental degradation, which is a disease we Kenyans are suffering from. Let's take an example of our own. The Mau Forest region is being deforested in order to cater for settlement of our own people. And this will actually contribute to the global warming, which is a threat to the entire nation. And it will cause rise of water levels at the coast, and people will be forced to migrate to more safer places. This will cause dense population, which is not good. Ladies and gentlemen, my fellow countrymen and women, students, have you ever asked yourself why God placed labor pains in women when they are actually conceiving? Have you? The answer is very simple. This is because he wanted us to regulate population by ourselves. And this can be fulfilled by this one-child policy. So, why are we not accepting these changes? And God himself, before he created us, he knew that he's going to place this actually labor pains on this woman. So, my fellow people, let us come together, stand on my grounds, and adopt this one-child policy. And remember, together we stand, apart we fall. Overpopulation is always the grandmother of evil, as it is made by Harish Aditham of India. Leaving the stage was Joseph Ndungu, Kabiyet boys, strongly opposing this motion that Africa should adopt the one-child policy. Thank you.
Third opposer, you have 3 minutes to respond to the audience.
To the question asked by Karangi from Kipkeno High School, that what are the measures that we are going to use if it is not one-child policy? My audience, since when was only one-child policy the only solution to the population in Africa? One thing I have to say is, overpopulation is one of the most serious problems in Africa. It is true. I want to make it clear that I do not object, but the problem is this. Using one-child policy has its own side effects, but I have my own solutions to the overpopulation problem. It is not that we really have to embrace this one-child policy in order to solve the overpopulation problem in Africa. No, it is not overpopulation. We have other ways, and women empowerment is just one of the solutions. Another thing is delayed marriages. According to me, I really value the fact that we really have to make Africa as a continent a better place to be than we found it. And that is why I made a decision that I'll be married at 40, so that I'll only have one child and be able to raise that child. Now, my audience, before I continue, I'm very troubled by the fact that we get to be mistaken by some people who say that labor pains were implemented or were imposed on women because we want to regulate the population. Don't you all know from the Bible that it was a punishment as a result of taking the forbidden fruit? No. I'd also want to challenge my opposer who said that China, and on addition, I'd like to put this, even Germany, they implemented the one-child policy. And take it from me for free. You should never learn from your own mistakes. Learn from people's mistakes. And that is why Germany, for now, they are really at their knees, especially the government, to pay people who want to give birth to other children, to sire other children. So is this what you want? Is it because we want to implement this one-child policy and then come back again and pay people in order to give birth? No. I think you are mistaken.
Another thing is also about China. You're talking of China being, we talked of China being, making up the 20% of world's population. That is a fact. And after implementing this one-child policy, China was able to reduce their population by 400 million. But the problem is 30% of those 400 million was because of self-selective abortions. My audience, before I leave the stage, know this. If a deal is too good, think twice.
We'll now hear closing statements, beginning with Kabiyet. You have 1 minute.
I woke up today morning with a dream that Africa will be raising its flag high due to success and for success, only to find it was indeed a dream that is going to be buried alive if we leave this stage and you have not made it clear to you that we must, even if you start now, adopt the one-child policy. So, as they say, there is joy in knowing Christ, and I say in an affirmative proposal, there is joy in adopting the one-child policy. Once again, Joseph Ndungu, Kabiyet High, we should adopt the one-child policy. Thank you.
Metkei girls, you have 1 minute as well.
My, oh my. I thought the story of the lost sheep is only found in the Bible, but I was wrong. We have lost Africans in the house. Black is the color of African, a true African like me, who understand the meaning of freedom and liberty in this 21st century. And as I look at you, I don't find you being light-skinned or have the European complexion. Then why are you trying to betray our continent? We are Africans. I can't wait for the day when my 10+ children will come calling me mommy. And I pity he in that trouser who wishes to have one child for an offspring. We have to flow with the current. Africa, we have to flow with the current. True to self, true to nature, true to Africa. I officially declare we opposers, we rest our case. Thank you.
Now, to Kabiyet High School, I want you to borrow a leaf from Faith when she said, learn from the mistakes of others and not your own mistakes, and say you should have learned from the successes of others and not their failures. What you could have done, you could have maximized on an example. Maybe not so many countries have adopted the policy, but take one country and make it your case study. See the successes that the one-child policy have had in those countries. And the example here was China. You could have taken China and maximized your argument. Look at infrastructural development, look at the economy of the country and other areas and say that this has worked in this country and therefore Africa should adopt it. As a team, you need to work on your research, you need to work on your delivery, and you need to work on your execution.
To Metkei, I think there was evidence of research, and I must commend the team for teamwork. There's evidence of, a lot of teamwork and a lot of consistency throughout. You have very good responses to questions, and there is evidence of you having read. And I like the fact that you even are up to date, and very current with your submissions, because you also know the challenges that the countries that had adopted the one-child policy are facing, and the fact that many of them are now revising that policy to allow people to have more children. The confidence that you come on to the stage with is something that's very, very commendable. And I think the first speaker has a very good voice. And I love the fact that you use the emotional appeal to get to as a very good and a very strong beginning. Just for Catherine, I think you want to maintain eye contact with your audience. You kept on looking somewhere up there, and at some point I turned to see whether there was somebody that you were admiring up there. But, look at your audience, and that is something that you work on, but I think you executed very, very well. Very good response to questions by Faith, very intelligent responses to questions, and I must commend your team for a great performance. Thank you.
Kabiyet High School, you were awarded 62%. Please give them a round of applause. Metkei girls, you were awarded 74%. You're our winners for the debate.
Congratulations to the ladies of Metkei Girls, and of course, thank you to Kabiyet as well for a wonderful debate. We hope to see them in the future. Thank you at home and here, the audience here with us for watching. I am your host, Mariam Bishar.
And I am Austin Nyumbok. Thank you for watching.
The Great Debaters Contest 2016 registration is now open. Teachers or school administrations should register on www.greatdebaterscontest.com/register.